Thank you, everyone, for attending. What my goal today is to not have this be your year-end close look. I want to help ease the pain, and because it is something we only do once a year, it can be pretty stressful. So one of the things you're going to hear as a common theme throughout this is the B word, which means backup. So just get ready for that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through this PowerPoint presentation fairly quickly, and then we're going to actually go into GP 2013 so we can go through the steps right on the, right in the system. You can look at it, take notes, things like that. So, and then we'll have a little Q&A time or place where you can go ahead and type in your questions as we go through, and if I have time, we'll get to answering them. We are recording this, and after the recording is all set, we will put this up on YouTube so that if you missed it or you want to go back and listen to it again, or you want coworkers to hear it, then you can do that. So our goal for the session is to learn what happens during the year-end close. I hope you learned one thing that you did not know before, and I hope you become better prepared for a successful year-end close. The agenda is we're going to skim over the U.S. payroll and Canadian payroll updates and changes. Typically, that could be a session all by itself. And we don't have that many payroll clients out there, but for those that do, we tend to work directly with you on that. And then we're going to cover inventory control, receivables, payables, fixed assets, analytical accounting, general ledger, and then just some tips and tricks that we've come up with. Okay, so for payroll folks, there's a U.S. payroll year-end closing for GP 2010 and 2013. There is no year-end file or tax update for version 10. So if you're on version 10, you have to get up to at least GP 2010 or GP 2013, and I believe that all of our clients have done that. Release dates, the 2013 year-end update is available now. The 2014 tax update is expected to be released tomorrow, or actually today. You don't want to apply that one until after your 2013 last payroll then run, because it'll mess up if it changes the taxes. And so then we'll kind of go over the payroll year-end closing checklist. The payroll updates, there's no W-2 or W-3 form changes. The electronic filing W-2 does have some changes. In 2013, new Medicare taxes on higher earners was changed. Product quality fixes around payroll year-end. 1099 miscellaneous. They made some movements of fields and changes in the field type. GP 2013 now prints your 1096 form. GP 2010 still does not print that form for you. And then the luxury auto maximum depreciation deduction amounts have been updated to comply with IRS guidelines. So that's what's in the 2013 year-end payroll update. So for U.S. payroll, the checklist is to install the 2013 year-end update, download and update tax updates. For 2010 and 2013, you can find these at Customer Source, and you're going to complete all your 2013 pay runs. You're going to verify your period end reports and make a pre-year-end wage file backup. So, and this kind of tells you how you're going to create that year-end wage file check or wage file, year-end wage file, tools, routines, payroll, and then year-end closing. Then you're going to make a post-year-end wage backup. Again, that was going to be used a lot. So the year-end wage file, this is where you're going to get a report. You're going to edit and print your W-2s, create the W-2 electronic file, And after all of that is done, then you want to install your 2014 payroll tax update so that when you start producing your payroll for 2014, you have the correct tax rates in your system. For inventory control, we close that if you're using inventory. If you're not using inventory, you can just kind of hear me go blah, blah, blah. But if you're using inventory, that should be closed at the end of your fiscal year before any new transactions affecting quantities are posted. And if you're keeping transaction history, the year-end close will transfer all summarized current year quantities, costs, and sales amounts to last year. The beginning quantities from the quantity on hand are updated for each site, and the quantity sold field is zeroed out. Now is the time to clean up your inventory, remove discontinued items, sold receipts, sold lot attributes, update the item standard cost, all those kind of things you want to just do at year end. So how do you get started? The B word. You enter and close all your purchase orders, sales orders, and inventory transactions for the current year. Then you're going to reconcile SOP, POP, and then inventory. You can print your historical inventory trial balance, and then you want to review your inventory year-end checklist. And the next item that we close is receivables management. So the calendar year-end close should be done anytime at the end of the calendar year before posting transactions into the next calendar year. And the fiscal year-end close should be done at the end of the fiscal year before posting transactions into the next fiscal year. If you're on a calendar and fiscal year that are both actually calendar year, you can close both at the same time. What it does is the calendar year-end close, all the year-end close does, the process does, is it moves everything from your year-to-date files to your last year files, and then also updates your life-to-date for sales and payments, credit memos, things like that. Okay, so finance charges are cleared from the year-to-date and moved to life-to-date or last year in customer finance charge summary. And so when you close the fiscal year, the finance charge, all amounts other than calendar year are removed to the amount in last closed view. Okay, again, you're going to back up your system, enter and post, and I can't stress enough, you want to actually go ahead and do these backups as you're closing each module, because if you back up before you start any of it, and then you get partway through the process and something happens where you lose connection or something happens along the way, then you're going to start way back at the beginning to put in the most recent backup. So if you back up every time you're going to do a new section, then it takes a few minutes, but it could save you some time later on, not having to reclose everything. So you enter and post all your receivables transactions for the year, reconcile receivables, and then review your receivables year-end checklist. For payables, same thing. Calendar year-end close should be done before posting transactions into the next calendar year. Fiscal year-end close should be done at the end of the fiscal year before posting transactions into the next fiscal year. Calendar year-end move amount 1099 the year-to-date and last year in the amount since last closed vendor yearly summary window. And then fiscal year-end moves all the other amounts from the year-to-date to last year in the amount since last closed windows. So I can't hold up my payables. Well, there's a trick to that. For that, what you can do is, if you have payables that need to be put in, but they're not until the next fiscal year or the next calendar year, put them into a batch. Name the batch 2014 or January 2014, something like that, and go ahead and save them in the batch just wait and post the batch until after you're done. That takes care of pretty much all of that for you. It's easy to get started, yes. Again, you're going to enter, although the receivables, you're going to post all your payables transactions in the current year, reconcile payables management, and then review the payables management, the payables year-end checklist. Okay, the next one is fixed assets. Now, in 2013, they did something nice that we used to not be able to get any kind of a historical report, and now you can. So if you're in 2013, it's not quite as critical as it used to be for when you're closing fixed assets. So what happens during the fixed asset close is the year-to-date maintenance amount is removed. The quantity is copied to the beginning quantity field. The year-to-date depreciation amount is removed. The cost basis is copied to begin year cost. Life-to-date depreciation is copied to begin reserve. Salvage is copied to begin salvage. And then it increases the current fiscal year by 1 year for each book. So you want to back up again, print all your reports. Depreciation must be taken to the last day of the year before closing the year. And then, of course, you're going to review the fixed asset checklist. Now, if you're using analytical accounting, analytical accounting has some unique things that started happening with GP10, SP2, and later. So AA closes with the general ledger when the option is set up. And then, so you're going to review the options and decide what's best for your company. I will tell you that with GP 2013 and Management Reporter, you must close AA, so the AAGL historical tables are updated correctly. I've run into this a number of times with Management Reporter and AA, so it's very critical that tables and things get closed and things get moved to history. If you haven't moved things to history in the past, I can show you how you can do that as part of this a little bit later. Okay, so when all is said and done, you've got all of your sub-modules closed. Now you're ready to close the general ledger. Okay, so the general ledger is going to hold all your P&L account balances to retained earnings account. So summarize your balance sheet accounts and bring the balances forward as the beginning balance of the account in the fiscal year. You can close to retained earnings or to divisional retained earnings. Your account history and transaction history are updated. Your year-end report prints, which is your journal entry to close the year. And in GP 2013, you now have the option to clear unit balances. And you also have a progress bar to view during the close. That was a new thing that they added for GP 2013, that you can actually see that it's doing something now instead of just hoping that it's doing something. I know I'm getting some ahs out there, but I can't hear you. Okay, so backups are your BFF. So the things you want to do are you want to confirm your retained earnings account is set up correctly. You want to confirm the posting account type. And usually what we do is if you've worked with us before in a year-end close, you probably still have a smart list that you can run to check your posting accounts to see if your P&L are set up as P&L accounts and your balance sheet are really set up as balance sheet type accounts. The number one call we get after people close the year is they had added an account throughout the year. They forgot, and when they entered it, they didn't change it from balance sheet to P&L. That account rolled forward. It didn't close out like normal, and we can fix it, but it's a pain in the neck. So it's best to check first and make the change. Then you're going to confirm that your fiscal period is set up for the new year. Then you're going to check you're going to perform some general ledger file maintenance, and then a review of the the general ledger checklist. Tips and tricks. Take a what? We're going to make a backup. So there is no recovery from a tooth plug, special eggnog spilled in the keyboard, Georgia power blown out, brown out since the urine process has begun. You can only restore. Are you using unit accounts? Clear out the beginning balance quantity to the new year if needed, or carry forward. All users must be out of GP when you're performing the year-end close. The year-end close appears to hang 50%, but it's still processing. Let it run. Do not click process again. Set up fiscal periods for the new year and close modules for the prior year. The second closing period allows you to add initial adjusting entries from the first closing period and post data entries into the second closing period. This enables you to have separate tracking and adjusting entries after the year is closed. Verify that you're keeping historical records by going to accounts, transactions, maintain history of the GL setup. Okay, and really make a backup. That's all I can say, make a backup. So I'm going to end this is the end of the PowerPoint presentation, and then I'm going to go through and we're going to open up GP 2013 and kind of go through quickly the steps that we're going to need to go, the windows that we're going to need to go into to do the year-end closing. Okay, again, you can always email us, clientcare@omnivue.net. We can help guide you. If you want us to work with you on this, you just call up, you set up time. Just have to make sure that nobody else is going to be in the system while this is happening. And, recording of this presentation will be located on youtube.com under the OmniVue channel. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my GP 2013. Okay, and I hope everyone can see this. Okay, so this is GP 2013, very similar to GP 2010. I'm going to skip over the payroll part of this presentation, and we'll go right into the inventory control. So if you're going to close inventory, you're going to go ahead and, first of all, you're going to make a backup and make sure that you have everything that you need. Okay, and then you're going to go into, you're going to reconcile your utilities. You're going to go into utilities reconcile and reconcile your quantities before you begin. No one can be in the system when this is happening, just so you know. And then you're going to go through your year-end close. So you can have it remove discontinued items, sold lot attributes, sold receipts, and change and cost change history prior to, and you can put a specific date in there. And then you can also update your item standard cost. And so when you hit process on this, it'll go through and it will do all of those things. It's a fairly quick close. And as far as your reports, you can get your here. Probably want to print like your historical tax status report under your history report. Okay, then the next module that gets closed is in the sales, and it's your receivables. Obviously, purchase order processing, sales order processing don't close because those have ongoing open items, but receivables and payables do close. So what you want to do is you're going to go ahead and you can actually look at a year-end close checklist, or you have checklists that are here. Everyone has checklists that are on here. So this is like your month-end checklist that you could do. And then if you come in here, you can see your year-end close. If you're doing finance charges, you want to make sure that you're running your finance charges process for 2013 and make sure everything gets posted before you do the year-end close so that everything gets into the right period. Okay, so your year-end close here is basically you want to say either I'm going to close just my fiscal, just my calendar, or I'm going to close them both at the same time. This will, I'm in a virtual version of this, so nothing's been closed on here before, so your last closing date will show up here when you go into this window to see what's here. Okay, and then you can just click process, and it will give you a report. Most people don't print that to paper because it takes every single customer that you have in there, and it shows what it's done with moving things from year to date to last year for all the different types, summary information types. With purchasing, similar thing, you're going to reconcile tables, make sure that it reconciles to the GL first, and then you're going to go into routines. Now, with 2013, we have some extra added bonuses to payables. Number one is out here under transactions, you can edit your 1099 transaction information. So if you have a vendor that you want to change something, you can look up your vendor. We'll pick Beaumont Construction here. And now see, this has the tax types, the box numbers, and such things. So if this was the wrong type, you could actually change this and hit process and update it. If the tax type, if I say I want all my debit transactions and I redisplay, if there were some that didn't have any tax type in here because you didn't realize they were supposed to be 1099 until later in the year, then you can actually change this to the tax type and hit process, and it will go back through and it will update everything. So you're not having to go through yourself individually, manually, and making changes. This is in GP 2013 only. Again, with your credit transactions, it's going to show that part, but mostly you can see your debit transactions here. I'm expecting to hear a woohoo on the other side of that. Okay, and then also you have you have 1099 details here on the card. The 1099 details here, you can look at any vendor. You can look for the month, or you can look for the year and see what's going to be printed for their 1099s here. I believe this is in 2010 as well. And you can make adjustments here. So if in April you missed something and you needed to put $100 in the year, you can save that and it will update that one for you. It will also update your year. Now I have $100 in here for the year. Okay, it won't let you change the amount for the year. It will let you change it for the month. So I know that we have some people who started recently on the on GP 2013. They started maybe November 1st or something like that. So they don't have all of their 1099 information in for the year. So you could come in here, change this to, say, November, and put in what you know is supposed to be there for GP or for this fiscal year, this calendar year, I mean, for payments that you've made to your vendors. And if you put the entire amount in up through October 31st in either October or November, then it makes sure that anything you've done beyond that will get added into the 1099 information for you. Okay, so you're going to go through and you can print your 1099s, and you can see that in GP 2013 we have an additional box down here for printing your 1096 forms. And the alignment form is for your 1099 form here. So you can print different types. You know, if you have your dividends, if it's single feed, usually it's mostly single feed. So you can print all your different types. You fill in your taxpayer ID number here. If you have multiple companies in here, you can do it by vendor ID, vendor name, however you've kind of broken those out. Okay. And then your year-end close, after you've done that process, your year-end close is very simple, and then it's going to, again, fiscal moves everything except 1099 information. Calendar close moves only 1099 information from year-to-date to last year to life-to-date. And again, it's not dependent on what day you do this. It knows what happened in a calendar and what happened in a fiscal. It's best to do this as soon as you can after the year end, but because your 1099s are date sensitive, so it's going to go on your payment date. It doesn't mean that, so if you have a payment in early January, you don't have to worry about it going through and messing with your 1099 information. Okay, next thing I'm going to talk about is the fixed assets. So on fixed assets, we'll go to routines. Make this bigger. So on routines, we have the year-end process. So you're going to go through your depreciation process, post your depreciation. You can print any of the reports that you need to. And I leave here on the reports. We now have more reports out here for the historical reports. If we get that. Those look the same. Anyway, your year end out here, you're going to choose which book or books that are going to close. You can close them all at the same time. You can close them one at a time. It used to be that if you wanted to get your reports for a prior year, you had to actually have another system set up with last year still open. You don't have to do that if you're on GP 2013. All the information is there. And the report will be there. Now for analytical accounting, I don't have analytical accounting set up on here, but what I do have is some screenshots of where you need to make some changes. So under in analytical accounting, under the administration setup, where you set up analytical accounting for the system, you tell it to include dimensions in the year-end close. Okay? And then under financial and cards, when you're setting up your dimensions, your transaction dimensions, you have the ability here to consolidate balances during year-end close on each of the transaction dimensions. So not the code so much, not individual codes, but on the dimension that you're doing. When you set it up on this, then any code you put in there will automatically have that same feature. And if you have not moved, if you've never closed this to history, and you're in GP 2010, and you expect to go to GP 2013, then you'll run through this next little process here called under your financials and utilities, you have one analytical accounting process called transfer transaction data to history. And so if you have this particular company I was logged into didn't have done this, so they don't have a year showing. If you have a year showing, it means that because it will always go to your oldest open, your oldest year that you haven't moved anything to history. So you change this over here to consolidate transactions and transfer detail to history, and just hit OK and process that. And then just do it for every year until the year becomes blank. meaning that you haven't, or comes up to 2014, so that you don't have anything more to close and move to history. This is very important. I've run into, being the management reporter guru here, AA, as anyone who's been using it knows it's a little quirky. And so with AA and management reporter, they have a especially unique relationship. And that requires us to have multi-currency turned on, and we have to make sure that all of the AA GL open tables and history tables are in sync with the GL tables, or else the data mart has a problem with it. So, but if you get this part done in GP 2010 before you move over to GP 2013, you shouldn't have any issues. Okay. Okay, so the last one, general ledger. So if you haven't closed GL before, if this is your first year closing it, then one of the things you want to check on is your setup. So the first thing to check here is your general ledger setup. Yeah, right here. And you want to make sure that you're closing, this is your retained earnings account. And if you're closing to a divisional account segment, let's say that you have multiple entities within, so they all have to have, if you're going to close the divisional, they all have to have a retained earnings account. I ran into that with a couple of companies last year when I was helping them close out the year. They have multiple entities in one database, and they didn't have a retained earnings account for every single entity. It will stop your close in its tracks if it doesn't find a retained earnings account for a specific division or for a specific entity. So the first thing to do is make sure that all of your, let's say that you have divisions, and I'll come up here and pick this up. Okay, so let's say that you have a division. So if you have a division 100, you're going to have a 130-30. If you have division 200, you're going to have a 230-30. 300, 330-30. You have to have matching retained earnings for each division in order for it to close correctly. Otherwise, everything's going to close into one, and then you can move it later. You want to make sure that you're maintaining history on accounts and transactions is checked. You, the allowed posting to history and deletion of saved transactions is almost always checked. The allowed posting to history, you can uncheck that if you'd like to, but what this does is they were talking about having a separate accounting period for post-year-end close. So you can post into GP 1 year back closed. So if you still need to post into 2013, but you want to close the year and you know that all the entries you're going to put in are just going to be from your accountant, you can close the year at any time after 12/31 or your fiscal year. You can close the year, and anytime you post anything, if you have that allow posting to history and you have the maintain accounts and transactions, it will post into the prior year as long as your financial general ledger period is still open. And it will reclose the year with every transaction. So you do not ever reclose the year. Each one will have, each journal entry that you do will have your original journal entry plus the closing entry right below it. So you only close the year once. If you do need to reopen it, we get Microsoft involved. So it's, and that's an expensive little detail. So again, you can post to your last closed year. So if you're still not sure if you need to post something into 2012, wait to close 2013 for your GL. because if you need to reopen 2012, we need to get Microsoft again involved in that. You can only post back 1 year. Okay, and the next thing that we want to do is make sure that your posting accounts are correct. And usually, like I was saying earlier, we kind of set up a smart list for this. If you don't have one, you can set one up yourself and you can check it yourself. So under the financial and accounts, you can set up one that says, I'm going to do a search, and I want to search for, and again, I don't know if you know this or not, but you only see the columns that are here. You can also say all columns. So if I want to search by my posting type, is equal to balance sheet, but my account number, and you can also use just your account, is greater than, say, 4,000. I think they use that for revenue. Okay. I was going to show you accounts that are out here that have a posting type, and this is a lot. It's going to show you the accounts out here that have the wrong posting type. Now, the ones that have zeros, these are unit accounts. They always come in as balance sheet type accounts. But you can see that this sales account here, and again, this is just sample data, the sales account needs to be a profit loss account. So you can simply click on it, change this to profit and loss, click save, and close it up. This one here again, profit loss, click save, close it up. If I refresh this, those two will be gone because they're fixed now. Okay, so you want to make sure that that's all okay, that you don't have anything in here. And on the flip side, you can say that you want to change the search quickly. I want to see if it's equal to profit loss, and the account is less than 4,000. Okay, so if I have any PN, and usually you don't get this. It's usually they're marked as balance sheets. So in this case, we're okay on our balance sheet account. They all have a balance. We don't have any balance sheet accounts with a posting type of P&L. But you know, when you go to add an account, it defaults to balance sheet here. And a lot of times people forget to change that when they add accounts. Okay, so then you got that. You've got all of your accounts are checked. Everything else is good. Fixed assets is closed. Everything else is closed. You're going to go into your year-end closing. So you can, this is going to pull from your setup in your financial ledger, your general ledger setup. You can tell it to remove unused segment numbers. So if you have segments out there, because you typically, we see companies will copy a chart of accounts or a section of a chart of accounts if they add a new entity or a new division, and they don't use all of the accounts. So this, checking this box will remove those unused segment numbers out there that you just don't use and you have not used. And usually by the end of the year, you know if they're there or not, but it helps clean up your chart for you. And then you can also tell it to maintain inactive accounts with budget amounts or all inactive accounts. Okay, there's a last closing date will pop in here. And then this is your progress bar that will populate as it's going through. Okay. Again, I can't stress enough to back up. I can't stress enough to make sure that your posting types on your account, make sure that it's checked. Again, that's our number one call. This account didn't close, it didn't roll over, and it's so simple to check it before you start the year-end close. And again, back up, back up, back up, back up. It's no fun to do it again from the start. So, you know, if you have a small company, it may be okay to do that part, but, you know, we don't want to have to do it a lot. Okay. So, let's see here. I think that pretty much covers it. Not sure if we have any questions. Haven't seen any questions come in to. I haven't seen any questions come in. But again, you can email us at omnivue.net or clientcare@omnivue.net. We're happy to help you out with anything. You can go to customer source and get information on your year-end closing. There's a lot of resources available to everyone.
I want to thank everyone for showing up today. I hope you got something out of it. And as I mentioned at the beginning, please feel free to reach out to myself, Kevin Parker, or Sean Nichols as appropriate with any questions you may have or more information or anything like that.